Hi guys, it's Jess from Honest Fiction, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing my end of winter book haul. Alright guys, so I realized that I just posted a fantasy romance book haul less than a month ago. However, I have still managed to acquire a little over 20 books since that video posted, so we're going to talk about them. Now, there is a mix of fantasy romance and then YA fantasy and then romance, like contemporary, dark, mafia. And I will be doing this by genre, or sorting this by genre. So if you're looking for a specific genre, check the timestamps down below. Now, if you're unfamiliar with my channel, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. You can also hit the notification bell to be notified whenever I post new bookish content. You can also check out my Instagram and Goodreads, both linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's talk about all of these books. All right, so I'm going to start off with adult fantasy. So first up, we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. So this is the Illumicrate special edition. If you're unfamiliar with the story, Ninth House is following Galaxy Stern. She is this girl that possesses the ability to see grays or ghosts. And because she has this ability, she has lived a really rough life. People don't believe her. She has stopped telling anyone she sees these ghosts in fear of people thinking that she is crazy. And eventually something very traumatic happens to her. And because of this traumatic event, her powers are discovered by people that work at Yale University. So she is accepted into the Leafy program, which is one of these secret societies that is used in Yale to police all the other occult secret societies that are in Yale. So Galaxy Stern is being taught by Daniel Arlington, or they call him Darlington, and he is like her mentor, and she's eventually going to take over his position of policing all of these different occult societies. And I just absolutely love this story. It was so good, and the sequel, Hellbent, personally, I think is even better than Ninth House. I loved it. It had so much action, and it was really reminiscent of Six of Crows in a lot of ways. I feel like Leigh Bardugo knows she can do one type of thing really, really well, which is heists, and she's just really gone into that in Hellbent, and I loved it. So anyway, I was not a fan of the original covers of this series, hence why we have these Illumicrate editions. So this is Ninth House. It's beautiful. I will show the inside of the dust jacket at the bottom of the screen. And then, more importantly, we have Hellbent. So I hate the original cover of Hellbent. It is this really creepy rabbit, and it's just, I'm not about it. So that is why I ordered these special editions, and I absolutely love them. I think they are beautiful, and I am so excited to add them to my collection. And next up is a Fairyloot special edition. So we have The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi, and this is by Shannon Chakraborty, which is the same author that wrote the City of Brass series, which I have not read, but I've heard amazing things, and same goes for this book. So this is like a pirate fantasy. We are following this very revered pirate, and she has gone through so much in her life, and now she is finally retired until someone comes to her and asks her to go and try to find their kidnapped daughter. So our main character decides she's going to go on one last adventure and try to find this girl, and the story goes from there. Once again, I've heard absolutely amazing things. I am waiting to read this a little closer to the spring. I want to do a whole like pirate reading vlog because there's a lot of great pirate fantasies that have been released recently, but I'm so excited to jump into this. All right, so this next book, if you have read it, let me know what you think about it because I am just unsure, and that is the Encyclopedia of Fairies, and this is by Emily Wilde. This is another Fairyloot adult book, and I've had friends that have read this book, and they have described it as cozy dark academia, and that just does not make sense in my mind. However, I just read the back of this blurb, and it kind of gives me like an idea. So it says, forget dark academia. Give me instead this kind of winter sunshine, sharp-tongued, and footnoted academia full of field trips, a grumpy romance, and malevolent fairies. So like, I kind of get the vibe, but still, I'm not sure. So I think this is also like rivals to Lovers. I think this woman is like going to search for the fae folk, and they're kind of like the trickster fairies of like the old school tales. And then her rival's also like looking for them, and it goes from there. But yeah, if you have read this, let me know what you thought about it. I am very intrigued. Cozy dark academia just doesn't really make sense to me. All right, so I'm gonna be honest, I had no idea what this next book was about, but I just looked it up for this video, and this book sounds so good. So this is Cruel Illusions, and this is also a Fairyloot special edition beautiful spray end pages. But this was described as Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets Caraval, and that just sounds absolutely amazing. So this is following a girl who's a vampire hunter, and she is trying to kill these vampires, and she stumbles upon this circus, and right away she knows that something is amiss, but she's not exactly sure if these performers are vampires or there's some sort of like other supernatural being. And it just sounds so good. So I don't know if I can fit this into my March TBR just because March is kind of getting crazy right now, but this is definitely going to be read in April. And I'm very surprised I haven't heard a lot of people talking about this because this sounds really, really good. And next up, we have The Lost Tale of the Flower Bride, and this is by Roshani. So this is following Indigo and Maxwell. Maxwell is the struggling scholar, and he meets Indigo. And Indigo is this very wealthy woman from an affluent family, and they have this very intense connection and love, and they end up getting married. But Indigo makes Maxwell promise that he will not dig into her past. She has a lot of secrets that she wants to keep buried, and he agrees. So all of this goes well and good until Indigo has to go back to her home, her estate, and when her and Maxwell get there, the house starts to reveal some of Indigo's secrets, and this is a mix of like fantasy and reality, and it's being compared to Mexican Gothic. Mexican Gothic being one of my absolute favorite horror fantasy novels. It just had such great imagery, and if this has like a similar writing style, I know I'm going to love it. So I cannot wait to read this. I will definitely be reading this at some point in April. Like I said, I've heard amazing things, and this should be such a fun read. And moving into fantasy romance. So first up we have Legacy of Shadows, and this is by Tessa Hale. So this was kindly sent to me from the author, and it is a Why Choose fantasy romance that I'm obsessed with. So I actually listened to this via audio, and the audio narrator did such a good job. I listened to this in one sitting. So this story is following Leighton, and Leighton is really just struggling. Her father has died, and her mother is abusive, and she's really just trying to keep her head above water. Life just isn't looking good. And then her best friend moves back into town. So she hasn't seen him for a few years, and he offers her an escape. He says, hey, come live with me and my friends, and you can get away from your mother. You can go to our school. You'll have a good life. I can take care of you. So she agrees, and when she gets there, she meets his roommates. And like I said, it's Why Choose, so you can kind of figure out what happens. But I absolutely love this. Like I said, definitely check out the audio. And this is the discreet cover, but also here is the original cover. And I'm not normally a fan of people on covers, but this book looks awesome. So if you are a fan of Why Choose Romance, I highly recommend checking out Legacy of Shadows. And next up, we have A Court of Blood and Bindings, and this is by Lisette Marshal, and it is the first book in the Fae Isle, I believe, trilogy or series. I don't know anything about this book. I had 2 friends on Instagram tell me I need to read this, and I trust their opinion because they know what I like to read. So I hope I like it. I mean, this cover is absolutely stunning. What I do know is we are following, I believe, a human girl, and she is about to be killed by this, like, assassin type Fae who is known as, like, the Death Fae or something to that nature. And instead of killing her, he offers her a deal that she has to compete in these like trials, and if he helps her or if they compete together, whatever, he'll free all of like the humans that I believe are somehow enslaved. So it sounds very interesting. It sounds like a lot of other like Fae books I've read, so I'm hoping it has some like unique aspects that make it feel original. But overall, I'm excited, and I will definitely be reading this as soon as the audio is released. I believe the audio is being released at the end of March or the beginning of April of this year. All right, so moving into romance, I'm going to start off with romance special editions and then kind of break it down by the types of romance. So first up, we have Liar, and this is by Fiona Cole. So this is from Hello Lovely. I actually got this book a while ago, but I never shared it in any of my book hauls. And this is a age gap uncle's best friend romance. So I kept putting off reading this because I saw it was like the 3rd or 4th in a series. However, this is very similar to like the Salacious Players Club by Sarah Kate. You can really read these books in any order. It's all just kind of revolving around a club. In this series, it is the Club Voyeur, and super similar to the Salacious Players Club. But anyway, I did really enjoy this. We are following this girl that ends up having a relationship with a guy in the Voyeur Club, so it's just for one night, and it's supposed to be like anonymous, and they have like a really kinky good time. And then I think it's almost a year later, she finds out that it's actually her uncle's best friend at a family dinner when they are forced to see each other again. And then they kind of have like a secret forbidden taboo relationship. And I like this. It's really fun. Not quite as much plot going on as the Sarah Kate series. However, if you're looking for like a spicy good time, I would definitely check this out. And next up, we have Hawk, and this is by Kat Savage. I've never read any books by this author, but I've heard really good things about this one. I believe we're following this woman who ends up getting a job at a tattoo shop, and her boss right away is like super tough and grumpy, but as she gets to know him, she finds out that he's actually a sweetheart. I think this also might be single parent. I'm not positive, but I'm really interested. I've heard really good things, and I'm excited to check out this author. And next up, we have Sweet Addiction, and this is by J. Daniels. So this is following our main character. She ends up meeting this guy at her ex-boyfriend's wedding. They have an amazing time together, have like great sex, and the next morning, the guy is like, we are doing this again, despite the fact that the main character is trying to kind of keep boundaries. So it is their relationship, and it sounds really good. It sounds like a book I would really enjoy. So I don't love this cover art. This is a Hello Lovely special edition. It's the most recent Hello Lovely box or book, and I don't know, something about it is just, I don't know. I don't know why I don't like it. It kind of reminds me of like manga art, but I love manga, so I don't know what it is, but for some reason I opened this and was like, ooh, not my favorite. But I know a lot of people and a lot of my friends absolutely love it, so it is so just a me thing. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you like this art or you hate it, because like I don't know what it is about it. But for some reason, it's not for me. And next up, we have Credence, and this is by Penelope Douglas. So if you are unfamiliar with Credence, it is a super forbidden, taboo romance. We are following Tiernan, I'm pretty sure is her name, and her family has just died. So she has to go live with her step-uncle, who she's never met, and his two sons. And when she gets there, there is a snowstorm, they all get snowed in together, and things go from there. I freaking love this book so much. It is my favorite Penelope Douglas book. It's so good. Did I need a French version? Probably not. So what happened was Tori from Novel Life was posting stories, and I saw that she had this edition, and I needed it. I had never seen it before, and she said you can get it on Amazon. I looked, turned out it was in French, but this is exactly how I picture this character looking, so I love it. I love it so much. It is my favorite edition of Credence. And next up, we have Twisted, and this is by Emily McIntire. This is part of her Never After series, and it's like dark Disney villain reimaginings where the Disney villains get their HEA. And I loved this. So Hooked is my absolute favorite, but this is a really close second. This is the Aladdin reimagining. So we are following Jasmine and Jafar, and in this it's Yasmin and Julian. So Julian is striving to be the most powerful man in the world. He had a really tough upbringing. His mother and father were both very abusive, and he is just notorious and is trying to get his way. And he has been working for kind of our Sultan character. So our Sultan character ends up being diagnosed with very aggressive lung cancer, and he is going to pass away soon. So he writes in his will that he wants his daughter to marry someone before he dies, and that is going to be the new owner of his company, which is like super lucrative. So Julian decides that he is going to marry Yasmin and do like a fake marriage, and that way Yasmin can eventually either one, be killed by him, or two, go off and live with our like Aladdin type character. And it is their story, so it is like forced proximity and like forced marriage and enemies to lovers, and it was so good. I loved it. It's also age gap because Julian is 13 years older than Yasmin, and I loved this book so much. I didn't love Scarred as much as a lot of other people. That's the Lion King retelling. And I haven't read Wretched yet, but definitely Twisted is really high up there. So definitely check this out if you love like a dark Disney retellings. All right, so the next two books are super emotional reads. So just know that going in, they cause me like emotional devastation, just personally on my part. So I have warned you. But first up we have June 1st by Jennifer Hartmann. So this is a taboo forbidden romance. We are following Brant. And after a very traumatic thing happens, he has to go live with his best friend. And his best friend's mother has just given birth to this little girl named June. And right away, Brant has this connection to June, and he is like, I'm gonna be your big brother. I'm gonna protect you from absolutely everything. And I had heard that this was very slow burn, and that was like the main comment I was getting from friends, was just saying that you spend a lot of their life just like watching these people grow up, and there's not a lot of romance until like the very end. No one told me how sad this book was. This book is devastating. I had an upset stomach 90% of the time I was reading it, just because of how upsetting and how much our main character has to go through before he gets his HEA. Like, I was listening to this via audio and something happened and I had to pull my car over because I was weeping. So I could have an entire video on this book just because I have so many conflicting emotions, because there are parts of the romance that were very, very uncomfortable and I wasn't really sure how I felt about it. But I also was 100% rooting for them to get their HEA. So yeah, I am so torn, but either way, 5-star read just because of the amount of emotions this book like elicited from me. But overall, I recommend go into this being warned, but I did really enjoy this, and I think that if you are a fan of Jennifer Hartmann's writing, you will also really enjoy this book. And the next book that wrecked me was Between Hello and Goodbye by Emma Scott. So I really should have known going in, every book I've read by Emma Scott has made me ugly cry. However, this book, at first, I didn't think that was going to happen. So we were following this woman who's really not going anywhere with her life. She is having a lot of one-night stands. She's not really taking her career seriously. And her boss essentially says, we want to make you a partner in our company. However, you just aren't acting like you really want it. So why don't you take some time off, try to find yourself, and we can go from there. So she decides to go to Hawaii, and when she gets to Hawaii, she ends up meeting this very attractive firefighter, and they have a relationship. And although they both are trying to fight it because they don't want to do long distance, it ends up not working. So they decide they're going to have a long distance relationship, and it is their relationship. And wow, I loved this book. The story was so beautiful. It really shows how long distance relationships, although like the two people might seem perfect for each other, there's so much you have to go through and struggle with in order to be together if you're not living in the same location. And I just really liked how it showed the difference between like family as a motivation versus personal life or just like your work life. And I really, really enjoyed this book and highly recommend if you're thinking about picking it up, it is worth all of the hype. One of my top reads of the year. And last up, we have Requiem by Callie Hart. So I recently posted popular books I hate, and I will leave that in the cards in the description. And that is all I really have to tell you about this book. I personally did not enjoy it. However, a lot of people absolutely love this book. So we are following Sorrel, and she is out to get revenge on Theo. So Theo was involved in an accident that killed her best friend Rachel, and now Sorrel is determined to get revenge. So she ends up getting a place at Theo's school, which is like a private school. And when she gets there, she is either going to kill Theo or make him admit that he is responsible for Rachel's death. And the story goes from there, and that is all I'm going to say. Personally, I didn't love it. However, I know a lot of people do, so if you're curious about it, definitely pick it up. Let me know what you think. Personally, it just didn't work for me. Alright guys, that is it for my book haul. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know down in the comments below if you have read any of the books I mentioned. And I said this already, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday, and if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. I will see you all next week. Bye!